Nivedita, welcome to Famous TV. I'm very excited to talk to you today. Firstly, tell me, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. Of course, I'm excited. Today marks like a new journey for me and my career, so it's exciting.
Amazing. So tell me, you have been such an integral part of the industry's, TV industry's evolution. Tell me about how you got started in the industry.
Yeah, actually, I can proudly say I should go back and be in one of those Limca Book of Records, with Ekta, because back in the days, I came from a non-fiction background. I was in Channel V. I was a producer director. I was doing shows, and I remember they were going through a transition. They said we don't want to do shows and we want to stick to being music, and I was like, how boring, I mean, how much can you do just packaging of music? And I said I'm going to go on a break, and I'll decide after a while what I want to do. So it so happened that a friend of mine, she said, go meet Jitinder's daughter. She's getting into television. I said, Jitinder's daughter? I didn't even know about her. Like back in the day in 2000, I mean, nobody even knew who their kids were. There was no social media. And I was like, okay. But I said, listen, I want to take a break before. She said, no, just go and meet. She's getting into something. So I remember there was her house, Krishna Bangla. There was a newly done building which was not even done fully.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the staircase was also like very raw, and I'm like, okay. I go and meet this guy. She asked me to meet, and he said, okay, good, you can come and join, but you have to start from tomorrow. So in front of him, I didn't react because my friend said, and she said, he's asking to. She said, no, you go, na. Then tell him you want to take a break. I said, I haven't gone home in like a while. You won't believe it. That day when I joined, and the first time I got a break, even on a Saturday and Sunday, was after 13 months. 13 months I worked 365 plus 395 days without a break.
Wow, you're so precise.
No, because I remember I was
Yeah.
unable to go home to meet my parents, and I was like, what is this job? And I was so unwilling because when I got in there, I never knew casting. I didn't know fiction. I'd never seen soaps. I mean, I was never made to do soaps as such, and I was quite nascent, to that whole concept. And the surprising part is, I had not seen Ekta Kapoor in 2 months. I was like, where is Jitinder's daughter? Why am I not seeing her? So that was quite a funny story because I was just put to my immediate boss, and I was made to do like very like small sundry jobs, like go get a print, go give it on the third floor. And I was like, listen, I was a director in Channel V and I was drawing this salary. But I agreed to do it because she said, no, you learn fiction. So it was all thanks to my friend Vandana. I remember she was the one who pushed me to do it. And then when I got attached, I saw Anurag Basu was there. He was doing one show. And there was Swapna Joshi. He was another female director. So under their wings, I kind of learned the whole trade. And then one fine day, I was sitting in an edit, which was one of our first shows, and somebody walks up really yelling. And I was like, who's this? Who's this person yelling? And he's yelling along, and the cut to, she enters the same edit room I am in, and I'm like flustered because editor suddenly gets up and like is called scared, and she said, who are you? And I was like, Nivedita. I didn't know who she was, we never seen the picture, nothing. I said, Nivedita. And then she's telling the editor, you play. And he played the episode and she hated, whatever was happening in it. She's like, you will come down after 2 hours after editing, do did it, and come. And I was like, okay, because I had done Channel V, and Channel V, my forte was post production. Because I was very good in edit, because they used to just have music and you had to keep repackaging
Oh, you used
it.
to edit at Channel V.
So I was a producer director, no?
Right.
So one of our biggest hit shows back in the day was when we did English, performers on Hindi music. So you had Kaliyo Ka Chaman with probably Ricky Martin saying Kaliyo Ka Chaman. So we used to do all of that with
the
lip sync.
remix era,
So
yeah.
it used to take forever, like a month or almost to do a song. So I was very like good in chic in edit and music because I come from a music background. I was a musician myself. So I'm like there and I'm sitting and doing this whole edit, and this edit, I'm like, cool, like, I'm like, shit. Then I got suddenly scared and I was like, no, I'll do my work, whatever I'm supposed to do. So I was just basically sitting in the edit room and just monitoring things because I didn't have any concrete job back in the day. Then suddenly after 2 hours, I send the message to her secretary that I'm done so she can come and see. So she didn't come after 2 hours, she came almost after 4 hours. And she comes and tells me, you are doing this show. And rest is history, I just suddenly became like a boss of a show, which I just edited for her for 2 hours. And then
Which was?
Which was Kasauti Zindagi
Oh,
Ki.
nice. One of the most iconic shows.
Yes, it was. So yeah, and then of course, I mean, I was a part of Kyuki also when it started as a part of Kahani also, but I became a boss immediately on Kasauti. So that's
Yeah.
always a very special show for me.
I'm sure, I'm sure. It was one of the most iconic and apparently one of the most viewed shows in India. So then now you're working at Atrangi and you've just been promoted just 2 days ago to the senior vice president. Firstly, congratulations.
Thank you.
So now tell me, how is Atrangi different than Balaji and what are your plans? Now you're venturing into OTT, right? So what are your plans for that?
Actually, it's entirely different because Balaji was a production house and Atrangi, we started off as a satellite, a Hindi GEC. Within 6 months, we started the OTT. So I'm almost a year and a half into the OTT as well. Like I always tell people, television is a tough medium to succeed in the sense that when you start a television channel, it's not a small or it's a short term plan, it's a long term plan. You have to pull it off for almost 10, 15 years. But the whole intention of us starting Atrangi was a successful venture because we wanted the perception of people to change. So my owner, he came from another channel, another platform which was doing extremely well was Ullu. So when he started Ullu, it was doing well, but whenever he wanted to make a normal content, he was unable to because people had this notion, that you make only this type of content. So when Atrangi started and we put ourselves out there, everyone was super excited, and me being there really obviously catapulted the whole audience because the media knew that I am there, and then people started pouring in, they started coming in, and the whole purpose was solved, was starting a GC. Then when we started the GC, we suddenly realized we also need a catch-up TV, because everyone doesn't sit today and reach home at 8 o'clock to watch a show. Those times are gone. Everyone's watching content on their palm. So within 6 months, we came out with our OTT, and we acquired a lot of content for OTT because you can't just have an OTT subscribe channel with no content there. I mean, Indians don't want to pay rice ka 100 rupees, which is the printed price. They would want discount on that, and then they would want dal also free with it.
Right.
So going by that notion, we realized that unless our content is like pumped in on a daily or a weekly basis, nobody's going to subscribe to it. So we are on an SWOD model, which is a subscribed video on demand model. So we had to put in a lot of content. So we started acquiring a lot of content. We have something called Atrangi Firangi, which has so Turkish and Pakistani shows do very well. Korean shows are doing so well. So I have like all the top content shows running on Firangi, and you'll be surprised, like women who we think are, not very tech savvy also take to the net and watch because they're watching it on YouTube, and these are the shows which are not available on YouTube. So we've managed to get a lot of audience on Firangi. We've managed to get a lot of aunties and grandmothers, to come onto the channel because I mean, while there was a channel called Zindagi which was doing well earlier, and now after it went, there was nothing for people to watch on television. So even on television, I started Firangi, and it was extremely like doing well.
Yeah.
But because the television thing was not getting as much result as OTT, so we decided to discontinue the television because our OTT is doing so well.
Yeah.
And then we went into non-fiction, which did extremely well. I mean, we did a show called Kink, which had like mind-blowing results. I mean, we got like almost 250 million hits on the show within like less than a week. So, I mean, it's going good, I would say. Atrangi is.
Yeah. What's kink about?
So Kink is basically a captive reality show, I mean, we've seen all of the Splitsvilla.
Okay.
In fact, I was a part of Splitsvilla and Roadies back in the day when I
Right,
was
yeah.
working in Colosseum. So I had seen, what the youth was catching on with. I mean, today, Roadies and Splitsvilla, I'm sure, is about 15, 20-year-old, and still it has so much traction. So this was about, like 12 couples thrown into an island, and how do they survive? How do they survive the relationship, and how do they survive each other and distractions? So we had Divya Agarwal who has won like so many reality shows hosting it. And I mean, there was umpteen amount of masala. It became like a meme fest, and it did extremely
Yeah,
well.
like
And
Temptation Island, right?
exactly. So Temptation in India came after that. So
Yeah.
I saw when I went to Temptation Island and I saw their page. In fact, everyone was like, "Oh, it's looking like another King." So I felt proud because we were the first to move.
First
King
to
came in
introduce that
earlier
concept.
and it did well. And much later, almost 6 months later, Temptation Island came. So of course, that also has its own audience because it's another platform altogether. So it's exciting. I mean, non-fiction is doing also extremely well.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to take you back to Balaji, the Kasauti Zindagi Ki, all these iconic shows, Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, they're literally like top 10 rated shows in India. So tell me, what was the process of making these shows and the inspiration behind creating those iconic characters? Like people still remember who Mihir, who Tulsi, who Anurag is. Like I remember it.
See, I would give a lot of credit to Ekta for that because she had eaten, slept, and she was breathing content because maybe because it was her father also in the medium. So I remember initially all our learnings were from uncle's movies. In fact, she would tell us, do this movie, do that. And I had not seen any movie. I was like, okay, when she would tell me, I would actually go and find it on YouTube or find a disc to actually watch the film because I was never privy to content back in the day and because I was not interested. I was more into the academic side of my life and into sports, and I was not watching too many movies. So ek to would always tell me, dad ka wo movie le lo, wo le lo, and all the writers, and I'm like, what is this? Let me come back tomorrow again with some research. So back in the day, I think because competition was not there, we would sit on a story extensively. I mean, there was no this thing that, oh, I had to be this, or advertisers are saying this, or this brand is saying, don't do this track. We would do exactly what Ekta had in our mind, and we would go with a free mind. So when a character would come in, we would juice each character for almost like 2, 3, 4 months. Like I remember when Gomzi came in, we almost had it for 4 months. Then Shobha came in, then the second sister came in. Then when we juiced her enough, then Sahil came in. So we had so much time, to juice these characters, and each of them got embedded in your mind so well. So I give a lot of credit to being the first mover back in the day, which gave us that, leeway to do so much stuff with a free hand. And I actually feel bad because today's day and time, nobody has the time. Everyone's competing. Today the rating doesn't come. Oh, your show will be pulled off. No, we are telling you research in Bhopal is saying do this. So it's influenced a lot by research and all. So the one advantage which we had in Atrangi was that we never got into the whole TRP game. We was like, we want to make this content, this kind of stuff for this audience, and we will just go ahead with it. So we had also an upper hand that way, that we were not getting affected by content, and plus we were making finite content. See, TV goes infinite and it's unlimited. Right. I mean, I have done it. I remember Kyuki was for a limited time, and then we got an extension, then we got an extension.
9 years, right?
Exactly. And then it went on to like 9 years. So we were like, how did we manage that? Because we were just sitting on a 230 episode story. Fortunately for me at Atrangi, we were making finite. So the day I sat on one, I knew the story of my end, which was 100. I knew that it was going to end there. So probably that also got a lot of traction for Atrangi because people were waiting, okay, after 3 months, we'll see another show. Let's see what else is coming. So everything has its pros and cons. But like I said, back in the days at Balaji, I've done almost 100 daily soaps. I mean, can anyone believe it that Ekta has churned out so much content back in the days? And I feel proud, every K show. I mean, the whole K saga started and probably ended with me because after that, Ekta also took to other alphabets. We started Pavitra Rishta, we started Bandini. So we moved on to other alphabets. But when I was there, we only did K. So obviously it feels proud because you've been part of every show. Your name has been practically in every show. Back in the day, people even watched, the packaging. So people knew. I mean, I remember I used to walk with Ekta to Siddhivinayak twice a week. From Juhu till Siddhivinayak, and we would have aunties actually coming and like old aunties coming and falling onto Ekta's feet, and Ekta's be like, nahi, auntie, and then they would be like, we want work, our kids, or this, or that, and they would say, Arey, aap hai Nivedita, we thought you'll really be like somebody old, because they're like, acha, Ekta to young, uski Nivedita to old hogi, she was like a 70-year-old lady. So those were fun days because our audience was right there.
Yeah.
How would we know that a show is doing well? Because I remember I was to climb my stairs, just for exercise in my building, and I would just hear, "Acha, abhi kyun ki chal raha hai is floor pe? Acha, isme ye chal raha hai." So it used to give us a sense of pride because today it's all about what you see in social media is what you believe. You don't know if genuinely it is getting the traction, or what is it driven by, or what is the real fact, and some are not being mapped. So it's a lot of confusing.
But there was a TRP rating, right? You used to know which shows are performing well.
It was. I mean, that's what I said. TRP rating was there, but for us, the bigger kick was that a common man would come across and tell us that this track, this story, this. So that means they knew the nitty-gritties of it.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure even now people know, but now there is no... I mean, it's not like a monopoly. It's like, of course, the Anupamas are doing well, the Gumai Kisi Ke is doing well, or a Choti Sardani is doing well. But there are so many shows and so many more channels. I mean, we were sitting on 3 channels when we started. Now there are so many more channels. Unke channels ke bhi subsidies hain. Or, सबसे बड़ी बात है कि people are now watching everything on the, on the net. I mean, today an OTT show, an Arya or a, Karma Calling is coming. People are more interested in because now film stars have become so accessible. It's almost like, acha, ye bhi 25 एपिसोड का सीरियल कर रहा है. So times are changing, and thank God we also opted to get into OTT space at Atrangi, and Ekta started it of course earlier. Unfortunately, I was at the time transitioning out because I wanted to do films and I couldn't be a part of alt. But yes, I mean, she also understood the future was to have your own content. It's all about IP.
IP.